Hey, I'm Celine, but you can call me Celine, and today we're going to talk about books. Hated The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I started reading it because I loved The Haunting of Hill House, both the show and the book, by Shirley Jackson, which I read in 2019. So I'm going to start with that. So I read the book, and I was crying because I thought I was actually losing my sanity. One page will be like, oh yeah, we're walking and we're taking a really nice picnic and it's fucking awesome, love it, so amazing. And you turn the page and they're like, we're running, we're about to fucking die. And I was like, am I missing a page? Did I skip something? Did I fall asleep and not realize it because, excuse me? So my ass really thought I was losing it. Hey, it's Celine from the future. Realized I didn't talk about the plot at all. The plot of the book version is this man in, I want to say the 50s, invites people who basically need money to come stay at this house because he thinks it's haunted. There's lots of stories about the place and he wants to prove it. And so he asks them to come document their experiences so that he can prove this place is haunted, I'm not crazy, hauntings are real. The show takes that general idea and turns it into a family drama. So instead of random people, it's a family. The show as a standalone, amazing. But when you've also read the book, it's really fun to kind of find all the elements that are pulled from the book, even the tiny ones, just little details that show that the screenwriter read the book. So yeah, I really loved that book and loved the show. It made me feel lots of things. It made me feel like I was insane and going to kill my future children. And if that's not what you want in a show, then I don't know what you want in a show. Didn't love season 2 quite as much, but that's okay. So, read The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, and it's pretty short, but to finish it, I struggled. So I had to switch to an audiobook because, oh my god, Henry James, I know you're dead, but if you're listening, write better. My man used so many fucking commas unnecessarily. There'd be 5 lines and it's one sentence because there's thousands of commas. He literally went comma, I, comma. Where are the English teachers when you need them? You don't need to do that. It was so hard to follow. Even the audiobook, I had to pause because I'd be like, wait, what? And also I read that Henry James was apparently mad sexually repressed. So the whole book is low-key supposed to be about, spoiler alert, pedophilia, which did not sign up for. And guess who forgot to mention the plot again? Basically, it's this nanny in the 1800s who comes to stay at this big-ass house in middle of nowhere, UK. And she comes to take care of these kids, and she starts thinking that there's some fishy stuff going on. And that you're kind of left to wonder, is it a haunting? Is she crazy? Or is it a psychological issue where, and this is what it more likely is that it's, she's dealing with some internal stuff and she's trying to bury it, and so she's projecting. I kind of got that in the book, and then I had to read reviews online and stuff because I was like, what the hell did I just read? So I don't know how accurate that is. Take it with a grain of salt. Anyway. So not a fan of that book. If you liked it, tell me why. And I would say recommend other Henry James books that you liked and that you think I should try instead, but no, don't do that. Don't. Just don't. Also discovered a new favorite author this year. I was looking for more French books to read because I basically have no one to speak French to here. And I was like, need that French. Need that French in my life. So one of my best friends recommended Chancellors by Leïla SLAYmani. Some people have described it as more of a character study kind of. It follows this nanny who kills the children in her care. That's not a spoiler. It happens within the first page. You're told bitch killed him. So you know they're dead the whole time, but what you don't know is why. Spoiler alert, you don't really find out why. Which was my one like kind of criticism about the book, is I kind of wanted a more definite answer, but I feel like maybe I'm just not smart enough and I just didn't understand. So if that's it, let me know. Would love to find out. But it was really interesting, really suspenseful, really fun. I don't know if that's the right word. But I read it really quickly and it got me out of my quarantine not reading slump, which was like 6 months. So I read more by her. I read Dans le Jardin de l'Ogre. Really enjoyed it. It was a much different story. It was her debut novel, actually. Basically about this woman who's, like, I don't know if she's officially a sex addict, but she's obsessed. She's cheating on her husband the entire time. And she, like, kind of wants to stop, but kind of doesn't, because she's, like, she needs this. Also kind of a character study. Yeah, just an interesting point of view that I feel like we don't talk about enough, especially for women, like women being into sex. And as it turns out, speaking of which, Leïla SLAYmani is a Moroccan and French author. So this debut novel prompted a lot of Moroccan women, when she was like touring the book and being like, "This is my book," to come up to her and be like, "Hey, that was really cool, and like I know that people are criticizing you for this because it's women having sex, but I really related to it, and this is my story." And so because of all of those women coming up to her, she wrote this other book, which is like a nonfiction book of essays called Sex et mensonges de la vie sexuelle au Maroc, or in English, Sex and Lies. And it's Moroccan women and men's like stories about kind of like the sexual culture of Morocco and how women there kind of represent the country, which is a lot to put on someone's shoulders. And so that's why, or partially why, this might be really inaccurate because I'm a little white bitch. Yeah. But basically why sex is legal until after marriage, and why there's a lot of rapes, and why you can't talk about it because then you're not a virgin and you can't be married, and why people have sex anyway, but you have to do it secretly, but like everyone low-key knows that everyone is doing it. It's just a matter of not doing it in a way that people know about it, like know for sure, to the point where like she literally quotes like a minister saying, "I don't care what you do as long as it doesn't bother your neighbors, because then it's brought to my attention and then I care." Which, like, sir. So yeah, just really interesting read. I feel like everyone could read it and be really into it. Personally, I was even more invested because I did spend 3 years of my childhood in Morocco, so there were certain things where it was like, whoa, I did not realize that this was going on, but then also some things where I was like, that makes complete sense now in retrospect. I read No Name in the Street by James Baldwin, which is like a non-fiction memoir, kind of. It's not linear. It was really good. Sometimes hard to follow along for my little brain because he kind of does what Henry James does, but better. Or like the beginning of your sentence is here, and then you've got a bunch of commas, and he's like, but actually, and then you get the end of the thought here, which in some ways feels like a real conversation with someone, because it's like when you're talking and you're like, wait, for context, and halfway through your story you throw a bunch of like random shit in, and then you finish your story. But sometimes when you're reading it, it gets a little confusing. It was really interesting to kind of basically get like a Wikipedia page about him, but in his own words, and get like his thoughts, and also a real like testimonial of what life as a black gay man during the civil rights movement was like. Yeah, would definitely recommend that one. And then later I read Animal Farm, also audiobook. Finished it because it was short, but it's basically just the shorter, simplified version of 1984, but with animals. So write something else, George. Then I read Le Scaffold et le Papillon by Jean-Dominique, which is also a memoir, which was mind-blowing because I didn't realize it was. It kind of reads like a fiction novel, but it's written by this guy who I think he was like a really good journalist before, and then he gets into this crazy accident, or that's not true. He has a stroke, I think. Clearly, I paid a lot of attention to the book, and gets locked in syndrome, which means like his brain is still functioning at full capacity, but his body isn't, and he can basically only communicate by blinking one eye. So the whole book is written by him blinking when the person, the like scribe, says the letter that he wants in the alphabet, but it's ordered in the order that letters in French are used the most. So they'll be like N, and he'll blink one eye and they'll write down N. And then they'll restart, and he'll be like A. So they'll write down A. That's how the entire book was written. It was him like writing it in his head and memorizing what he wanted to say so that then he could fucking spell out every single letter individually to make a chapter. Like, the amount of time and patience and big brain energy to do that. Like, I realized, like, the man's bored. All he could do is, like, watch TV and read when someone flips the page for him. But, like, if I had to, like, say my name is Sidian and spell it with my eye every time someone blinked, I would lose track of what letter I'm at. Within, like, a second, I would be done. So, kudos to you, my man. I mean, he's dead, but kudos. Also R.I.P. Then I read this garbage book, Parce que je t'aime, by Guillaume Musso. The story's about Leïla, a 5-year-old girl who goes missing in Los Angeles in a mall, and 5 years later she's found in the exact same spot and doesn't speak. And so the story's supposed to be about that. But it doesn't take the turn that you think it's going to take, where it's like, whoa, this is like a thriller, this is a mystery, like, who the fuck took her, what happened? No. That's not what they talk about. It ends up being like this weird, spoiler alert, because I'm just going to fucking rant. It's like 3 stories connecting together so that they can heal together, which could have been really interesting. And then there's like a crazy twist near the end, which honestly was not expecting, was pretty fucking good. And then the ending ruins it because it's too perfect. Like, the ending is like, spoiler alert, a happy ending for literally everyone, which is ridiculous. I mean, does everyone deserve to be happy? Yes. But it's a book, and it kind of sucks when you're expecting, like, fucking death and, like, turmoil and random shit to happen, I don't know. And then all of a sudden they're just like, everyone lived happily ever after and fell in love. If you enjoyed any part of this video, or disagreed with me, or agreed with me, subscribe, like, even if you hate me. Bye.